Hi, everybody. I'm Peggy Berryhill, Muskogee Creek, and I'm a longtime radio producer. I want to thank everyone at the Smithsonian and people at Cultural Survival for inviting me to be a part of this gathering. I'm really sorry I couldn't be there, but life had other plans for me this month, and I want to give a shout out to the few people that I know are there because I can't quite see all of you right now, but I know that you're there. I want to send out a big shout out to Maria Martin, who's there, to Christina for all the work she's done in helping me. Um, Elizabeth Weatherford, I think you're there. Uh, I miss you much. Kevin, wake up. I want to say hi to you, Kevin. Miss you terribly too. uh, Whoever else is there that I might know, but I can't see you, and so I don't know you're there. And to those of you who have come from many nations and from other countries, thank you so much for coming and wanting to uh, communicate with each other, for wanting to share our stories. Many of in a few seconds, Maria's going to show you a short PowerPoint that I prepared to talk about the brief history of the native radio system here in the United States. And our system is composed of stations, of independent producers, and of networks that share programming. I don't know how it's organized in your countries, but hopefully we'll all be able to find ways to work together. It's so important that we share our stories. It's so important that we have, by the way, you're looking at a radio station. This is our little radio station here in Gualala, California, run by the Native Media Resource Center. We have two CD players, we have a couple of computers, we have a small mixing board, and we have three microphones. That's essentially our station for now. We have a few other mics. We have access to do a few other things, but that's it. It doesn't take a whole lot these days. I kind of call it a radio station in a box. But we broadcast about 70 miles up and down the coast, including two Pomo rancherias. To the north, we have the Manchester Point Arena Pomos, and to the south, we have the Kashaya Rancheria. It's so important. You're here, as I understand, to talk about culture and language programming. Some of our stations do things like a word of the day. Some might do a phrase of the day. Some of them do their station IDs in their language. A few stations where there are predominantly native speakers, and in this case predominantly Navajo tribes on the smaller reservations, not so much on the big reservation, but on the smaller, there's two small pieces of the Navajo reservation in the south, KABR. They broadcast almost entirely in Navajo, and in that community, everybody, from babies to elders, all speak Navajo fluently. Then you have another small Navajo community, KTDB, the first radio station to go on the air, and they too are predominantly Navajo speakers. But many of our stations are bilingual, many of them are predominantly English speaking, and in the United States we're very formatted. So we have stations that have country music formats, we have stations that have some national public radio and other news programs like National Native News and Native America Calling. They have music like from Greg McVicker, Undercurrents, Cheyenne Beatty's Earth Songs. Other stations, Indians here love reggae. Lots of reggae programs on native stations. So it's kind of it's a mixed bag all over the place. But it's an important cultural. I always call it cultural survival. As Native people here, we have the advantage of being sovereigns, and we have the advantage of building our own destinies in many ways. And Native radio is just a piece of that, but it's a big piece of it, the ability to communicate. One of the things, these microphones that we use, whatever kind of mic you have in your studio, these things are the most wonderful tools because with these, we can bring people into our studio. Our studio is small, but we have enough chairs for two people. We can people outside if we need to, outside the studio. With this tool, this microphone, we can communicate to our nations. We can communicate beyond to our neighbors around us who might not know much about us And conversely, we might not know much about them. Like we don't know in the United States a lot about your nations, your countries, your customs. We're similar, but not exactly the same. So with these tools, this tool, we can open up the world to each other, to all our communities, because that's what communications is to me. It's about. It's about our sharing of our commonalities and a sharing of our history, getting to know each other, both as Indigenous people and non-Indigenous people in our communities, because we're all in this together. It's a small world, it's small communities. And if we're going to go forward in positive ways, we can use this wonderful tool to bring people in and talk to each other, have a civil discourse, something that is so important, and something that is it's kind of on the wane, unfortunately. But it's something that Native people do very well. We speak very well. We speak from our hearts when we speak. And those words stick with each other. And that's so important. I want to tell you a brief story yesterday. And, actually 2 days ago. You're seeing this on Friday. On Wednesday, a most incredible event happened right here on my little radio station. We were shopping at the local market, and there was a new checker. And my friend who was with me has on a little Yurok hat. It's a knit hat with a Yurok basket design. And the checker immediately noticed it. And we looked at each other and thought, this has to be an Indian. And sure enough, this new checker was a young man named Frank. And he is he's half and half Kashaya, half Point Arena Pomo. And he said, can I come over and talk to you about an event that's happening? I said, of course. He said, I have a break at 4. The young man showed up, and we talked about this wonderful event of runners running from Alaska to, I forget, to Mexico, and a friendship run, a cultural run. And he wanted to talk to me about what their elders wanted to pass on, because elders and other runners are passing things on from their communities and their cultures. He said, we need to talk about the importance of water, which is water is so important, particularly in our communities here on the coast. We have big ocean out there, but we don't necessarily have a lot of fresh water, but we do have good water. But the thing that was so touching is that at the end of our talk, Frank said, he said, I want to do an honoring song for you. Not on the radio, I just want to do it here. So my friend Susan was here, and new volunteer, John, was here. And we got together in the larger room, and just with the 3 of us there, he sang a beautiful honoring song, and he said it was to honor women. And that's the kind of thing that is so remarkable about our radio stations and what we can share with each other. Frank will come back later to talk to us on the radio about this run, but about Pomo culture, and to share songs that can be shared with the public. But that was such a remarkable event that could only happen because we're here and we have this willingness to open our studios to everyone, certainly to Native people because I'm a Native person. But not just that, but how else would that have happened? That remarkable afternoon just a day before yesterday. It was so beautiful, and we're so blessed. So these wonderful tools that we have, these microphones are wonderful tools, and that we can use them to honor each other. We can use them to heal. We can use them to share history and language and cultures. And it's so important that, like any tool, we use them for the good of all people. That is what I was always taught as I was growing up, is that we're just a piece of this earth and all communities, and we need to work together. That's the message that I share with you. I'm so grateful that for those of you who have made your journey here, and I just urge you to reach out to each other, talk with each other, find ways. We have the technologies these days, whether it's with our computers, whether it's with our iPads, our phones, we can communicate with each other, and it's so important now, speaking as an Indigenous person, that we do communicate, because we have so much to share with each other, so much knowledge, and that knowledge we must pass on to the rest of the world, because we have an important role in living on this earth and perhaps helping influence in ways that sometimes may seem small, but they spread out, that we must help bring the earth back in balance, not just in nature, but our human nature, where we see things are clearly have come out of balance. We were put here as communicators for whatever reason, our creator, our guidance, whatever words you use. We were here to communicate. So I urge you all to go out and communicate this week, these next few days, meet each other, enjoy each other. Please find ways to stay in contact. I am so sorry I couldn't be there with you, but I am so happy to be able to share some time with you, and in any ways that we can stay in contact, I will be more than happy to talk to you about producing. I am a producer. That's what I do. My mother said many years ago, she said, give her a mic and she can talk. So I've used up much of my time. Much love to you all. And to my friend Ugo. Ugo is there. I don't know if he's speaking next or if he's already spoken. A man of great wisdom and of great compassion, as so many people in this room are. Take care, and thank you for sharing these few moments with me.